Meantime, perfect. There is no meantime.
Heidi Meyer?
Yeah, I was present last month.
Welcome, everybody, to November's version of the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee.
I was here last month.
My name is David Fenley. I am the chair. We will go around the room and do introductions, and then hopefully we have a quorum. If not, we will skip our business and then come back to it if people join in. You want to start, Carrie?
Carrie Sheldon, Precinct G.
Patty Thorson, Trellis or Metro Area Agency on Aging.
Kevin Petrie, Recording Secretary.
Darrell, Paulsen, Vice Chair, and representing Region F. Is that correct?
Julie Sellner, Metro Mobility.
Chris Liefeld, AARP representative.
Heidi Meyer, Minnesota CCD.
Claudia Fugly, MNCCD.
And I see Michelle online. Take it away, Michelle.
Yep, Michelle Severson with the Minnesota Council on Disability.
Are there any other TAC members online? All right, looks like we're one short. I will read the Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement, and then we'll go into business. The Metropolitan Council Yeah, oh, Sam.
Sorry,
Yay.
Chair. Sam Jasmine, Precinct A.
Awesome. So that is a quorum. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So the Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homestead of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the foreseeable removal of the Dakota Oyate, the Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policy. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home. Thank you all for joining today. Given that we do have a quorum, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Patty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, discussion.
It says in September I wasn't here and I was here because he sat next to me. You know how it X on the top? I don't know if that's good for the record.
So when we get to the minutes during discussion, we'll change that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we're approving the agenda now, and then we'll move on to both August and September minutes after that. But thank you for making sure that we get to that. Is there any more discussion on the agenda? All right. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Abstentions? All right, let's move on to the August minutes, which have been updated since the last meeting. I know there was a question from one of the members about that.
Respond to that, David.
I would support a motion to approve the August minutes.
So moved.
Motion.
All right, so I have a motion from Darrell, a second from Carrie. Does that sound acceptable? Or is there any discussion?
And as far as discussion goes, in full disclosure, you'll see the statement has been updated relating to public comment. And I'm okay with that. And I just hope anybody else that felt that our minutes were whitewashed or were kind of altered due to that incident, I do apologize. And we'll be intentional next time if anything like that happens.
Any discussion? Any more discussion? All right, all in favor, discussion, yes.
Well, if you, I've noticed in other meetings, if you have bad behavior, like way out of kilt, that you can totally get kicked off, because they have a reputation and they want to bring people back to the table that want to be on this committee. So it makes it kind of hard if the word goes out, like, you hear what happened? That kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring that up because we've never really had that here. We just kind of move people around a little.
Thank you, Heidi. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Sam Jasmine, go ahead.
I would agree with what Heidi said, and I am in the feeling that was totally unacceptable. So.
Okay, thank you, and hopefully it's represented in the minutes. Is there any more discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor of accepting August's minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, please say nay or no. All right, any abstentions? Abstentions, fantastic. Thank you. All right, I would accept a motion to accept the September Transportation Accessible Advisory Committee minutes with the addition that Heidi Meyer actually was here.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you both. We'll take your second.
Jumped in front of you, Penny.
One of the few authorities that I have. All right, is there any discussion on the September amended minutes? All right, all in.
I was here.
Thank you. Yes, we have amended.
Made it very clear and he showed me.
I'm glad you remembered. I was not here. All in favor, or I'm sorry, any more discussion? I want to give people that chance. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? Well, I think I was here in September. All right, no abstentions. Thank you very much for getting through that business. Let's dive right into the business, starting with regional solicitation evaluation with Steve Peterson and company. Please join us. Thank you. Introduce yourselves and dive right in.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you about one of the efforts at the council. Steve Peterson, I work in Metropolitan Transportation Services here in the Robert Street building and work on this process we call the regional solicitation. Go ahead, Molly.
And I'm Molly Stewart. I'm with SRF Consulting. I'm the project manager on the consultant team, assisting with the redesign of the regional solicitation process right now.
Thank you both
Next
for
slide,
coming.
please. So just a little bit of background, and then we'll get into what we're doing and the connection to this committee more specifically and why we came here today. But the regional solicitation is the process to award federal transportation dollars. So one of the many roles of the Metropolitan Council is we do serve as the federally designated Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for the Twin Cities metro area. And so we have 25 to 30 staff within my department that serve as the staff to the MPO. And that involved, a lot of people have heard of the Transportation Advisory Board. This morning, preceding this meeting, is one of our technical committees, the TAC, meets, among other things. And so since really 1993, every 2 years, we've done a call for projects or a solicitation. We call it the regional solicitation for partners across the region, primarily different agencies, to help distribute federal transportation dollars that flow through the MPO. One thing to note that the regional solicitation does not fund metro mobility projects. Next slide, please. So we did this 10 years ago, and now we're at it again here. So with Imagine 2050 being approved, and then also the 2050 Transportation Policy Plan, we embarked on what's amounting to a 2.5 to 3 year consultant project with SRF. To make sure that the money we're giving out, and it's a decent amount of money, it's $250 million every 2 years of transportation funds, make sure that aligns with the new policy direction in Imagine 2050 and the 2050 TPP. So we have the 5 goal areas at the bottom of the slide, and we've worked hard to make sure that the way we're distributing money is in alignment with those policy directions. Okay, next slide, please. One more. So this is the old structure we had from roughly 2014 to 2024. And each of those boxes are application categories. And so we nested those application categories under modal buckets. So we had a number of different applications for roadway projects, transit and travel demand management in green, and then bike and ped in blue. So that was the old structure. So don't concentrate too much on that one. We'll get to what the new one is here next. Next slide, please. As part of the engagement here, we did 25 or so listening sessions across the region, maybe 18 months ago. Tried to chronicle what are maybe some of the things people liked and wanted to retain with the structure. Again, we have a lot of flexibility in how we distribute the money, and every MPO across the nation really does it in a different way. There's kind of very few federal rules on how to distribute the money. So people liked a lot of pieces of it, but a few of the hang-ups that we wanted to work on was to make sure that we aligned with regional policy, and that was very clear. And be able to focus on desired outcomes. So we were funding by roadways, transit, and bike ped, but that really couldn't get us to, our advisory board has said, well, last time, focus on safety. We want to really improve the safety outcomes across the region. But that was tough to kind of square with our current process on how to do that. Next slide, please. So a year ago, we had policymakers, largely from our Transportation Advisory Board, as well as council members. And we had a workshop and asked them, how would you like to implement the 2050 Transportation Policy Plan into funding decisions? Because some of the policies and actions, for instance, were very clear that they could be potential application categories, those boxes that I showed you before. Others could be incorporated in other ways, like scoring measures or qualifying requirements. Others still maybe were good policy direction, but didn't make sense to include in a funding program. Next slide. So we gave them cards based on objectives in the long-range plan and had them group them over the course of 90 minutes or so over in US Bank across the street. And here's the result of one of the groups. Next slide. And this really formed the basis for the proposed structure that is going through our approval process right now and will be released for public comment likely in mid-December. Maybe just a few points on here. Again, the boxes are application categories, and instead of doing it purely by mode, we've structured it based on the goal areas, safety, dynamic and resilient. The environment, green, would be a combination of climate and natural systems. And then the last goal area, our region is equitable and inclusive, is to be used proposed to be used as a scoring measure, as opposed to an application category where someone would apply for a project just in that. So maybe we'll pause here, Mr. Chair, and see if people have questions today. And we're about halfway through the presentation, but any questions overarching on the regional solicitation or the council's role in distributing the money?
Are there any questions online? If so, feel free to just speak up.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
Thank
feel
you.
free to continue.
Next slide,
Yep.
please. I'll turn it over to Molly, and we'll be giving the broad overview, and I will bring it in a little bit more as far as the connection to this committee.
Thanks, Steve. So now that, Steve walked through how we got to our structure, from there, then we had to develop the details. What are the application categories and what are the scoring measures we want to implement? And how do those change from the last structure? So we formed several special issue working groups. They were comprised primarily aligning with the different, the goal areas and modes as shown on the slide here. And we met in a series of workshops with these groups then the beginning of this year, so March or April and May timeframe, and then it was a large group of technical staff that helped to craft the different scoring measures and the criteria and the percentage of points, et cetera. So all of the details that are going to these applications were worked through with members of these technical special issue working groups, which were comprised of city and county representatives and different experts in the transportation community. Next slide. This group helped to define the funding target. So as Steve mentioned, there's $250 million over the 2-year time frame to allocate. This group helped to identify how does that get split up between these different buckets of categories. So as you can see, a large amount of that is going towards the roadway applications. Those tend to be the highest price tag projects. And then from there, it gets divvied up amongst the rest. So there is bicycle and pedestrian applications. And then, as Steve mentioned, there's been a large push towards improving safety recently from the Transportation Advisory Board. So wanting to formulate that category of itself in this new structure was important. And then allocating money in that sense was also important. Next slide. So here's some things I just want to highlight. Big changes for the 2026 solicitation that will be released for applicants to respond to applications in early 2026. One of the main goals we had been working through as part of this whole 2-year process was to simplify the application. So we feel that even though we have a similar number of application categories, the number of questions and criteria that each applicant is having to respond to has been simplified, focusing more on specific 1 or 2 outcomes versus trying to accomplish a broad range of criteria. There's a new safety category, as I mentioned. We are developing an EV or electric vehicle charging application that will not be as part of this 26 solicitation, but will be one for 2028. So that is responding to some interest from partners on those types of projects. And then, as Steve mentioned, equity is incorporated not as a project type, though. So the equitable inclusive goal area will be part of scoring measures that will be across all the applications. And then finally, I'll say that in addition to the federal money, the $250 million that we mentioned, there is regional sales tax money that's allocated for active transportation. That is part of the, is being discussed as part of this whole solicitation, but is in its own funding category, or their own application category. So there is roughly $50 million of that sales tax money that is a local source, different than the federal money that is going to be allocated in application categories that are for bicycle and pedestrian improvements specifically. Next slide, please. So, things I want to mention as projects, as we roll out this next solicitation in 2026, is that, there are funding targets for each of the categories, but as part of the process and once projects are submitted and scored, the Transportation Advisory Board will have the opportunity to go through different funding concepts. So emphasizing certain areas based on the projects that were submitted. So potentially looking at maybe a safety emphasis or a travel options emphasis. So this is where they'll be able to kind of rank projects and go through different options. And if we fund more projects in the safety bucket, for example, what does that look like? If we fund more projects that prioritize people outside of vehicles or bicycle and pedestrian improvements, what does that look like? So these will be topics of discussion in 2026 after the projects have all been scored that will be submitted as part of this next cycle. Next slide, please. I do want to touch on, how does the regional solicitation advance accessibility specifically? There are a number of requirements as part of the regional solicitation that are important to note. All agencies that will submit applications through the Regional Solicitation Federal Funding Program are required to have an ADA self-evaluation or transition plan in place. That's been a longstanding requirement and will be carried forward in the next solicitation. All funded projects must also be ADA, must also comply with ADA requirements. So when projects are constructed and designed, it'll have to go through and make sure that they they're meeting ADA requirements. Additionally, the local active transportation funds could be used to fund ADA upgrades and across the corridor or in neighborhood locations. So specifically if there needs to be potentially curb ramp upgrades or any other accessibility improvements. Likewise, the bicycle and pedestrian projects are being scored also on how they advance improvements to those facilities that help to meet or improve facilities for people of all ages and abilities. So that's one of the scoring metrics in the application right now too, of making sure that the projects that are being scored highly are also advancing improvements that will help all ages and abilities. And then overall, I'll just note, as part of some of the performance measures that are tracked of the projects that are selected through Regional Solicitation that are funded through that program, Met Council does track a number of different performance measures, from number of sidewalks or miles of sidewalks that are implemented to, and specifically to number of ADA ramps that are installed as well. So these are metrics that have been tracked historically and will be carried forward into the future. So next slide. All right, thank you. I do want to just maybe touch on, as part of the community or the equitable inclusive goal area, we did mention that there are scoring criteria that will be implemented as part of all the application categories right now that respond to that goal area. So specifically, the applicant is going to be asked to respond to questions and provide information on the type of community that that's surrounding the corridor, and making sure to consider and prioritize communities that are listed here on the slide as part of the project that is being submitted for funding. So it is part of a past TAB decision and is being carried forward into this the 2026 solicitation. Next slide, please. So as part of those scoring measures that are part of this equitable inclusive criteria, there are 3 questions that will be included. And so it's really understanding the community that surrounds. So, what does the data show? What is the makeup from the census data that surrounds the community? Engaging with the community. So as the project team or the people that are developing the counties developing the application, engaging with these communities, understanding their needs. Is there an accessibility need? Is there a lack of sidewalk connection or transit connections, et cetera, or making sure those elements are being incorporated into the project. And then finally demonstrating, if we heard this in the engagement, and then also is it being provided as part of the project? So is the benefits connecting back to that community engagement. So really making sure it's highlighted that, the projects being put into the communities are the ones that the community actually would like. Next slide. So in closing, I just want to kind of note our process here. So as Steve mentioned, we've been going for 2 years now in this process. We're getting near the end of going through the approval process of the application. There'll be a formal public comment period of the application materials starting in December. And then we anticipate having call for projects in early March of 2026. With the final project selection being voted on by TAB by the end of 2026. So with that, I will just ask if there are any other questions.
I'll kick it off. And it sounds like there may be a question online too. This is David. Thank you both very much, and another one there too. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's nice to be looking forward to the future here. Is it possible, maybe using 1 or 2 examples, just because I'm very curious about the metrics that tend to advance the all ages and all abilities and facilities. We do assume ADA compliance because it's the law. It's kind of like just the bare minimum you can do legally. So when we talk about accessibility and usability, I'm curious what sort of, if you can highlight one or two, if not, you can get back to us as well. What the, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet point on the 13th slide? The advancing accessibility slide. You were talking about key metrics that you were going to focus on to
Advance all ages and abilities facilities.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I believe it,
and I realize this is a very high level.
yeah,
I
yep.
understand that.
Trying to call the exact question terminology in the application. I think it is tied to, understanding, is there, what are the surrounding destinations to the project? So is there a senior living facility? Is there some sort of a school or some sort of community feature that is going to be impacted by the project, and making sure that the project is aligned with that? So does there need to be more transit access or better access to the transit stops with sidewalks? The sidewalks need to be, is it a multi-use trail because there's a large biking community? Is it grade separated or on road because there is maybe a younger, more inexperienced user on the trail? So I think that's what it means by some of the questions that are in the application, making sure it's all abilities. So whether it's based on age or based on ability, physical abilities or anything like that. So I don't know if you can add.
Yeah, I'd maybe add to that, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Particularly on the bike projects, not everyone can do an on-street bikeway. And I think, having a separated facility in space with either a barrier or distance between it, I think making sure that the facility that's being built can accommodate more than maybe just the bike commuter. And that, I think that's what it's getting to. All ages and abilities can use the facility safely and comfortably. And usually that does mean some sort of separation of the facility from traffic.
Thank you. That answers my question. I appreciate that. We'll start here and then Heidi, and then we'll go online. Chris, go ahead.
Thank you. My question might be totally off base in terms of what you're presenting, but to give context, I live in St. Paul, and I'm on the board of a community council, right? So we're all about transit. We're all about pedestrian safety to a large degree because our boundaries are in the community. And so we're very conscious, and we have a transportation committee, so we're very conscious of the issues. But two questions. One is related to e-bikes in terms of when you look at bike safety and funding projects, how much that's consideration, because I think the world's changed in terms of biking the last 5 years, maybe 10 years. But bikers, I bike, but I don't have an e-bike, but everybody around me as they pass me ride e-bikes, And so there's a safety issue there, not only for me, but for the riders. A lot of them don't have helmets on. That's the first part of my question. But the second part of my question maybe gets into the community input as they request funding. And I live 3 blocks from Summit Avenue. And, that's a project. I'm not sure the status of the funding of that project. But we just had a new mayor that was elected for the city. And it's a strong mayor system. And she has expressed questions of that project going forward. That's a big project, obviously. So my question is probably the context of maybe not specifically that project, but more so getting community input, and at what level do you get community input and then making decisions on what is being funded?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and member. So your first question was on e-bikes, certainly, right?
Yeah, the e-bike question, maybe that's the first one, yeah.
I'm not sure we have explicitly in the application, we don't ask, I don't think about that. And we know it's an issue. I could see people weaving that into their response particularly from a safety perspective, as you mentioned. But I don't think we are asking, do you allow e-bikes of this nature or that nature to be on the facility, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of cities, are tackling that issue right now too, with putting out statute or policies right now in place to kind of manage that changing environment that we're in, but Steve's correct, we don't have anything specifically on that.
Okay.
So I think we'll defer maybe to the local agency that's designing the facility to control.
Okay.
Yeah, and to your second question about community input.
Right.
So right now, that's drafted as 20% of the points, which is high when you distribute the points across several measures. So it's a big chunk of points in determining who's going to be funded. There's three parts to that, three sub-measures that Molly had described. One is understanding who's adjacent to your corridor. So it's beyond kind of the commuters going through the corridor, who's living and using the corridor that are more adjacent to living and working adjacent to it. Then community engagement really involves how did you identify the need for the project? So it's not maybe scoping out the entire project that this bike trail is going to be this wide or this wide, but it's how did you work with community members and impacted communities to identify the need for an improvement in this area? And then more future-oriented, how do you plan and what structures do you have in place as an agency, whether it's the city of St. Paul or Ramsey County, moving forward to have the community provide input along the way to help shape the project to best meet the needs. And then, so those are the two parts of community engagement that we're focusing on. Anything else to add, Molly?
Yeah, I was going to say, so the projects that are being submitted for funding right now are about 5 years out from construction. So they're pretty early in the process, and a lot of agencies maybe haven't done a very in-depth engagement yet. There's just been maybe a little bit of engagement, so that more in-depth engagement typically comes with the design process and then before construction happens. And so that's where I think the community engagement would likely be probably the starting point of the process and might not be super involved, as in there's not likely going to be a big open house and a big call for the residents that are adjacent, but trying to target, maybe specific community groups that might be able to help identify that need, but then more would come as part of that. And I think that's where, there's a lot of agencies are very supportive and incorporate a lot of engagement throughout their planning process because it's important, and the community voices are important as well.
I just have a follow-up then, related specifically to Summit, but again, broader. I'm not trying to pin you down. At what stage would that, the city's gotten all sorts of efforts to get input, quite frankly. We just had the Public Works Director, present to our board, on the community board. What stage would a project like that is at in terms of?
Well, if I remember, I think that one's up, just ready to first start design process, right, on Summit Avenue, I think my understanding. So they would start engaging with the community, and I'm not sure if that one was part of a previous solicitation, but the city of St. Paul would be, it's a county road, right? Either way, the county city would be engaging with residents as part of the design process. That would likely be happening here in the section of Summit that is up for reconstruction here soon.
Thank you.
Heidi, take it away.
I have a couple of questions. Well, the first one, them two were talking about disability stuff and made perfectly good sense. My question is that you're billing things that aren't, because I don't know if you truly understand 100% or all disability. So because a lot of the sidewalk, because I actually almost got ran over by a bicycler and then got swore at because I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. So how are we going to in the future if we're making, accessible places, but one for the bike and one's for the average person or the person with a disability, and how do they work together as a team? And as I came here today, I got off one stop too early, so then I walked over the light rail, so you have to learn what that's all about with your disability. So where does, because there was no really crossing, and the cars were very nice about letting me cross and do what I needed to do to get here to the meeting. So I was just wondering how you're handling that, because you talk about we're all integrating and becoming part of the community, but then we build it in a way where we have to rethink how to stay safe or get places. Because if you take the 54 bus, there are places. You go in West St. Paul, there are places. You go into the suburbs, you just drop me off in the grass and say, here, fend for yourself. Because the sign is there and they have to follow the bus rules, so what makes it all appropriate, do you know? So I was just wondering if you have any questions on that or thought about that, because I experienced it, because I am 100% relying on Minnesota and the city buses and Metro Mobility to take care of me and the taxi company. So I would hope that when I get out of my vehicle, I can actually get out safely, or out of the bus safely, or the train safely. Just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
I don't know if you have any comments, but if you're thinking about that, because I see too many things. And I know you're trying to improve ADA, but are you thinking about all disabilities, or does your group have a mindset of certain types of disabilities and that's it, and that's how we build it? Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Actually, can I ask you a question quick, Heidi? So is this regarding guidance for users of facilities, so like bikers?
It's just because they're talking about we're integrating, but then I've seen a lot of, when the public money gets sent out and they're building it, and it's like, okay, then where is all, sometimes they miss it, you know what I mean? And sometimes they're almost there, but we have to tweak it, because that's why this committee exists.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. If you have a response, by all means.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And member, the groups that were identified back in 2014 included disabled folks. There likely is a definition. I don't have it at my fingertips on what that includes, because I think that was one of your questions. Does it include, what exactly does that mean? So I would have to get back to you on that. I'm sure a definition has been made on that, but that's been included since 2014, and as far as special communities that we want to pay attention to. I'd say some of the changes that we're making, particularly on the safety front, are beneficial this go around. Particularly on our roadway projects, we've always done a pretty good job at building trails and sidewalks along the corridor, and an okay job of the crossing. And what we're hearing from a lot of people that aren't driving but need to cross, that building something along a corridor is great, but the safety, in particular, you're thinking about people outside of vehicles crossing at major intersections, and how they interact with either other modes like bicyclists, like you mentioned, or vehicles, is probably more important, because that's the dangerous part for people, is the crossing movement. And so the scoring does reflect that need that we're seeing across the metro area for people to be able to safely cross intersections. Molly, if you have anything else. But
I was also going to just kind of speak to your comment about how do you integrate all the modes together, and that is another scoring measure that elevates projects that have that connection. Where if you're adding a transit connection, is there a bicycle and a sidewalk connection there too, and how can you get around to make a complete system? So projects that should demonstrate a more of a complete streets approach to the process of making sure all modes are being accounted for and not just vehicles, are going to be scoring higher than projects that maybe don't do that.
Because in West St. Paul, I've seen a lot of e-bikes now, or someone's creating their own kind of e-bike, from scratch, it's becoming the way of the future. And so I've had to work around bicyclers and the bus stop, and I'm actually at the correct spot where I'm supposed to be standing, but we have to share, but I don't also want to get run over.
Yep.
Yeah, so, thank you.
thanks. And
At what point do e-bikes become e-motorcycles?
Exactly.
They changed the speed limit.
Yeah. Are there any questions in the room? Not in the room. What about online? Did I hear you want to chime in, Sam? Oh, no, I don't see any hands raised.
I might have a question.
Yeah, Darrell, go ahead.
My concern is this. You talk about the 2050 framework. I've been involved in the 2040 framework. I was involved in the 2025 framework. So I'm fully aware of how it goes and how it gets pushed out for solicitation. However, one thing I do find interesting is you talk about the equity piece and what that looks like, but we really haven't really flushed that out. And what I'm saying is our equity committee here in our organization does great work, but when does it get to take top billing in these, like the 2050 plan? Because right now, that is where we need to be sitting. We need to make sure that these projects have the equity component there, and we're showcasing it to our funders, we're showcasing it to our stakeholders, because that's going to improve our relationship with the community greatly if we can do that.
Please, if you have an answer, go ahead.
Yeah. You want to touch on the highway arm stuff?
No, go ahead.
So as Steve mentioned, the equitable inclusive goal area has its own funding category right now. It is 20% of all applications. So that is a large amount of points and comparable to some other criteria. So many of the other criteria that roughly all the applications have maybe 4 to 6 other criteria, and some of them are, rival with the 20%. So it is going to be an important piece of all the applications. In addition, Met Council is currently working on a highway harms study right now that could eventually lead to a list of projects that are aligned with that equitable inclusive goal area. And there has been some discussion of potentially in the future creating a separate application category specifically for just those projects. Nothing's been determined yet, but that was part of the conversations we did have. So I think those two pieces are where it's becoming more of a conversation. And we have it branded right now as the community considerations criteria. And that was a little bit to respond to the direction from the federal level of understanding that there is, this is federal funding, and we want to be responding to that, the terminology that's coming out of that, but still maintain, the goals of the Met Council's 2050.
So how do you say it's 20% of all application. So that's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, right? But how do you capture that, and how do you ensure that the projects that are coming in will consistently meet that or go beyond that? Because right now, that isn't the only way that we can improve our system, is if we improve it for everybody. And not just those of us that need to use it, but everybody needs to use it, and everybody wants transit, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And members. So typically we've funded anywhere from 40 to 50% of the projects that are submitted. So it's a highly competitive program. So even if you had something that was 5% or 10% of the score, people work very hard to get those points, because they want, in some cases, $7 or $10 or $20 million to put towards their project, or else a lot of times it's not going to happen. So the fact that it's across all of the application categories and worth a lot of points means that people will put the time into it. And then we are planning to do trainings, and the hope is that it goes beyond the 100 or 200 projects that are submitted every 2 years for the regional solicitation, but that our local agencies see value in the engagement with communities and try and do that for all their projects, not just the ones that are solicitation. But I think the fact that it is worth a lot of points and is essentially required for all applications, people want to do the work to get those points, and we think obviously it's the right thing to do too. So that's why it's in there.
The other follow-up piece of that is, you talked about Highway Harms Committee. Give me an example of what projects would come under there and what that might look like.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. That's a multi-year study that we have. It's probably worth having the project sponsor or project manager come back and speak to you at a later time. I think that'd be very interesting for this committee to kind of get a grasp on what's happening there. It's a really interesting study.
Highway Harms Committee.
Yep, but we can talk to the project sponsor.
So an example of that would be like what?
Yeah, so they're looking at primarily large roadways, whether it's freeways like I-94, 694,
Yeah, we had.
other high-speed roadways. And look, usually we're saying the benefits of a roadway project. In this case, we're looking at both the past and ongoing harms, whether it's air pollution, noise, displacement of businesses. There's a long list of things that they're looking into.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Heidi, go ahead.
My question is, this is the way of the future. Minnesota, there's road construction and hope you can survive through the weather, whatever season it is, But my question is, are you going to, because when you've done some of these, we had to relearn how to get to a new bus stop, or we had to learn how to get to a new location for like parking a car or going to a certain place. So are you going to not just everyday people, but people with all kinds of disabilities being a part of this in the future as part of the Met Council or whoever decides the funding to be a part of it? Because some of us have to learn how to get to the new place or how to tell like a worker it changed and now it's over there because of road construction and how they rebuilt things. So are we going to get to be a part of that, in the future? Because you've done this, since the 90s, since I've been using it, and I had to relearn a few times where to stand for my bus or where to stand for certain things, or going to the Pride Festival was a workout, last year, not last year, but the year before, because you had really relocated certain things. And it was nice that the community out there was willing to help me, but I was lucky that was there, but it might not be there the day when I really, truly need it. Thank you. If you can answer my question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I think you bring up a lot of good points, and I think certainly as a region, we've can do better at informing the users of our system on changes to it. It's a little bit outside the scope of the regional solicitation. Again, we're funding projects 5 years out, 4 to 5 years out. And so it's really up to those project sponsors, whether it's Metro Transit or Ramsey County or some city, to make sure that they're informing the users. There isn't really anything in our funding processes that probably get at that. We know it's important, and you've talked about the importance to your life personally. But I think we'd probably lean on those implementing agencies to do the hard work there to make sure we improve that.
Yeah.
Because I still want to go places. I don't want to be stuck at home all the time.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll give online one more chance to chime in here. I see no hands up, but y'all can just start talking if you want to, Michelle or Sam. All right. Thank you both for coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you so
it.
much.
Nice job.
It was informative.
When the project gets scored, they could come back and give us a small update. Maybe the high, maybe the low, maybe like 2 or 3 of them that
Yeah, that's about right. All right. Our resident Metro Mobility
Hi, Julie
expert,
Sellner from Metro
Julie.
Mobility. With our update of our performance over the last couple of months. Now, I know you all are very familiar with this report. As we go through, if it's okay with Mr. Chair and the rest of the committee meeting members, I will address the total for both ADA and non-ADA combined, and if you have individual questions concerning one or the other, just please let me know. All information is on each slide for both ADA, non-ADA, and total. Next slide, please. So just going back through the key fundamentals, on-time performance is the percentage of all trips that arrive within 30 minutes of the negotiated pickup time. Appointment times, that is the percentage of all trips that arrive no later than the negotiated appointment time and no earlier than the 30 minutes or early to the scheduled appointment time. On board time, that is the percentage of trips that did not exceed the calculated maximum on board time. And capacity denials, That is a count of requested trips that are unable to be performed due to the system capacity restraints. Next slide, please. So knowing all of our definitions, our year-to-date KPI for on-time performance, overall all trips, hasn't changed since September. We're still at 93.5. Total trips performed to year-to-date, 1,479,971 passengers. On-time trips, 1,383,189 passengers. Late trips, 96,782. Next slide, please. Our on-time performance, and this slide is breaking out our late trip details. So if we take that total number of on-time trips, the 1,383,189, the number of the trips that were picked up within the 0 to 5 minutes of their scheduled time was 421,972. From 5 to 10 minutes of their scheduled time, 293,679 passengers. In our 10 to 20 minute pickup window, 422,759 passengers. And 20 to 30 minutes or towards the end of that pickup window, 244,779 passengers. Looking at our late trips, the number of passengers that were dropped off 5 minutes past the window is 36,172. Between 5 and 10 minutes past the window, 23,691. 10 to 20 minutes past the window, 22,486. 20 to 30 minutes past the window, 8,120. And then more than 30 minutes past the window, 6,312. So a bulk of those late trips are within 5 to 10 minutes of the scheduled, or the pickup window, past the pickup window. Any questions on that? Next slide, please. On-time performance comparative, when we compare to what we're performing for 2025 versus what's fed our FTA threshold of 90% and our performance in 2024. In 2025, we were able to effectively improve our on-time performance over 2024 by 2,745 passengers. If we were only maintaining the FTA threshold, we have improved service for 51,215 passengers. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Next slide, please. Going through our on-time performance for appointment time. Our on-time performance for appointment time is 92.9%. Overall, pretty close to where we were 2 months ago. I believe we were at 93.0, so we did dip a little bit by 0.1%. Total trips transported that had appointment times were 416,997 passengers. Of those, 4,082 were dropped off early from their appointment time. 25,368 passengers arrived late. The next slide will kind of break out that detail. So next slide, please. Of the 4,082 passengers that were dropped off early, 2,745 of them were within 15 minutes of that time, or 30 to 45 minutes before their appointment time. 1,249 passengers were between 45 and 60 minutes of their appointment time. 81 passengers were 1 hour to 75 minutes early for their appointment time. 6 passengers were 75 to 90 minutes early. And we did have 1 passenger that was more than 90 minutes early. So these are the numbers that we track and that we're constantly focused on improving and making that a better experience for each of these passengers numbered here. I know we just see numbers, but I see people when I see those, and they're being affected. So these are the type of numbers that we are constantly watching, tracking, and trying to improve. For individuals that arrived late for their appointment time, which would be after their appointment time was scheduled for, 6,842 arrived within 5 minutes after their appointment time. 6,348 passengers were 5 to 10 minutes late for their appointment time. 4,600 were 10 to 15 minutes late for their appointment time. 2,922 were 15 to 20 minutes late. 2,803 passengers were 20 to 30 minutes late for their appointment time. And we did have 1,854 passengers that were more than 30 minutes late for their appointment time. Any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
Heidi?
I just have, this kind of goes with what you're talking about, and it's something you can keep back and think about with human services and social service. Oh,
Please forgive me. Yes, you're kind of far away, your mask again. Is it okay?
Okay,
if I just put this
go
close?
ahead. Okay, with human services and social services, I do a lot of my own appointments myself, but the program that I'm getting signed up to be in the community, so how about using Metro Mobility, and we can go with you and go to your appointments, and then we had to argue the idea that, and you just proved that there's some problems, not to say it's bad or wrong or right, but it just happened. But they were using that as an excuse, because I know they can use a car, and they could take me, but they wanted to use Metro, and we were trying to figure out, me and my friend who's advocating with me, how do you make it work with the numbers you just talked about, you know what I mean? So I can be there on time, and as part of the order for me to be in the community, I have to do certain things, and that makes it hard, So we fought very hard, and we're still going to fight for regular transportation and not rely on you, because then they would have to restructure their way of thinking, not your way of thinking. It's kind of a little bit of both, you know what I mean?
I do.
They have to be on time, you have to be on time, and I'm waiting to go to the appointment, so it makes me think, by hearing this, to advocate even stronger for what I already know. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
I just wanted you to know that they're
No, I
making you,
appreciate
like,
that.
take tons of transportation. This company would love you to do most of the work, but at the same time, it makes your numbers harder to clean up,
In a way, the
Yeah.
challenge is that
If you understand where I'm coming from.
I do.
Thank you.
I do.
Online, Sam, did you?
Question from Sam.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Julie. Thank you for giving us these numbers. I'm one of the thousands that gets a consistent miss on her appointment time. I don't take Metro a lot, a couple times a week, but it seems like every week there's a missed appointment time. So I just wanted you to know that, but I want to address something else too, that when I know it's going to be a miss, that I still get pressured to pay from the driver, and so have to then either call in or make an attempt to check my card to know that that I've been reimbursed. And I feel like that's such a time waster and so senseless to do that to me or any passenger. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I knew I had a 4:15 pickup. I had a 5:30 appointment time in South Minneapolis. I live in Plymouth. By 5 o'clock, they were still picking up and dropping in Plymouth. I knew I wasn't going to get to my appointment time. Anybody who can do math and do the time can know that that's rush hour, and they won't get to their time. But But my concern was I had given him a coupon that I received from you guys for a free ride because of so many missed appointment times. So I asked him if I could have it back, so I didn't have to waste the time to call and get yet another one, and he wouldn't give it back to me. And I don't think I understand that concept that you would make a passenger go through more work, not you as a person, but the collective, make us go through more work of having to call again, and why he wouldn't do that. And I didn't get to my appointment till 6, by the way. So I'll wait your response, but thank you very much for taking my
Thank you. And I'm going to answer that kind of in a couple of different parts here, okay? First of all, don't blame the drivers that they're requesting for payment when you board the vehicle. That's what they're trained to do. We do have an automatic reimbursement process in place around the 15th of every month. Any appointment time that was missed or any pickup time, if we're more than 30 minutes late for your scheduled time, are automatically reimbursed around the 15th of each month. If for some reason that reimbursement does not go through, and again, to your point of having to call, I do ask that you call our department and we will ensure that that credit is applied to your card. Did that kind of answer and clarify?
Sort of, but I was just kind of missed that I gave him the coupon, a tangible thing. He could have just given it back after I had asked for it back at 6 when I was getting off. Can I have my coupon back so I don't have to call and ask for another one? Nope. Actually, he didn't say no. He just avoided it. But I feel like that should have been that's a tangible thing. That's a time saver for me and you guys and a stamp saver. I just felt like it would have been easy for him to just hand the coupon back. But, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then please also remember that the providers cannot put the credit back onto your card. You do need to contact the Metro Mobility Service Center, my department, to ensure that it does. And again, I do apologize for any time inconvenience that it takes to do that.
It didn't come off my card. It was something you guys gave me in response to, so they wouldn't put anything on my card. They would just send out another coupon. I was just trying to save everyone a little bit of legwork.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I agree. What I would do at that point is ask you to call in, put in that complaint, allow us to pull the video from that vehicle and investigate it. We want to ensure that you're treated with the respect that you deserve to be treated with.
All right, thank you.
Heidi.
Is that also with human services or social services? Because they load my card, and when there's a problem, do I call you and then you fix, like put the money back on or take my complaint and see if it's worthy to put it back on my card?
Majority of the time, we can tell by the time that you were picked up and or dropped off if we have violated your scheduled time and or have gone past your appointment time, and can go into the system and give you a credit while you're on the phone. But yes, it's our department that you would contact, and we'll put it back onto the card that the Human Services has provided to you.
Okay, good to know.
If the individual does not call, but it was still obviously late, is there a mechanism to refund the money?
And again, thank you very much. It's an automatic reimbursement for any ride that has arrived past the 30-minute scheduled time or past your appointment time. So if around the 15th of the month you notice you didn't receive that credit, that's when we want us to give us a call, and we'll verify whether or not it's scheduled to go back on, and if it's not, we'll ensure that you get that credit back.
Heidi, go ahead.
How do you verify that? Do we call the number, on the card, or do we call you, or do we go on the computer, or how do we verify? Because you got to teach the person how to do that part, because some are they just know tap this and that. They don't know all the extra steps you're bringing up today.
That is a very, very good question. Any credits or money that's applied to your card does not update on your card until you touch it to an electronic reader on the vehicle. At that point, the driver can also give you your balance. So if on the 10th and you haven't had any rides, this, very broad example, you had a $10 balance, you should have 14 with your reimbursement coming. And then on the 16th, the driver tells you you have a $10 balance. That means that he's deducted for the ride that you just received and your credit was applied. There are several other ways that you can do it. You can contact us. You can look your card up online. Our Metro Mobility website has a link for you to be able to check your balances and recent transactions. Or you could call the Metro Transit. Their system can also look up your card serial number and verify. We do try to make it accessible by phone, online, or on the vehicle at the time of use.
Is that on, one more question, is
Go ahead.
that on the, so it is very clear, I don't have to go digging through the website, like Metro Mobility to find it?
Right, so when you go to Metro Mobility, it's going to say paying for trips. You click on that. Halfway down the page is check your balance.
Okay, good, then we can teach people.
Yep.
Any other questions? We can continue. Well, just as someone who does not balance their checkbook because it's painful for me, that process does not sound fun. But that's just me. Is there more?
Next slide, please. Excuse me. Again, this is our appointment time performance and comparative to both the FTA threshold and our performance in 2024. In the year 2025, compared to our performance in 2024, we have improved our on-time appointment performance by 47,895 passengers. So that's a pretty significant improvement. If we were only maintaining FTA threshold, we have improved that for 41,700 passengers. Next slide, please. And now we go to our onboard time. Overall, our onboard time is at 97.2%. Out of our 1,479,971 passengers, 1,437,973 passengers did not exceed onboard arrival time. Trips that exceeded our onboard threshold were basically 42,000 passengers, 41,998 passengers. Next slide, please. When we compare our onboard performance in 2025 versus 2024, we have improved that experience for 15,014 passengers. Our onboard time performance has been maintained pretty high, but we continue to try to push that and achieve it at even a higher level. If we were maintaining an FTA threshold, that means that we have improved that for 32,000 passengers. Any questions?
Heidi.
My question is, are you doing a new way of training or a new way of booking? Because I remember many years ago, the computer decided to change my ride, and I waited at the store an extra 3 hours, and they said I was wrong, and then they found out I was right. It was the computer that, because they had a system where it helps you organize the people, and it moved me. And I kept telling them I didn't change, I didn't lie, and then they found out it was the computer that's doing it. So what are you doing to help you so you can clean this up, or training, you know what I mean, to meet these, good thresholds?
Well, that is a very unique situation. We usually don't have those type of issues with trapeze. What's wonderful.
It wasn't trapeze, it was your computer system that organizes like 1,000 people, wherever how many are going that day. And then it also helps you organize a little, this is what I was told, and it helps you organize it a little.
So there's some technical terms, but basically there's tools within that software that allow us to optimize routing.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you're talking about. And it will take all those rides and try to optimize them by pickup and drop off address, schedule time and appointment time. That gives us kind of our skeleton routes. And now people go in and make that even better. We kind of footprint the routes. That means walking routes right through a map, ensuring that we're trying to be as efficient as possible. And that is done on a daily basis, multiple times, trying to ensure that the live day is as perfect as we have the ability to make it.
And how do you spread that out to, does that go to the different?
Each provider has that same tool, that same access for their areas. And then at the MMSC, we can see that for all providers.
So you know if it's good, bad, or ugly, right?
Right, and please know that the day before, we try to set all routes at 100% performance of on-time performance and appointment performance. It's kind of as a live day starts to go live, weather, call-offs, vehicle issues, client issues, forgive me, but we have just as many client issues as we have other operational issues. Those are the things that have a tendency to start taking our 100% on-time performance that we start with in the morning and start to degenerate that. No-shows are a big, huge part of what causes our on-time to drop. And so we are very followed through with our no-show policies strongly.
Chris, and then Darrell.
Julia, I just have a couple questions. One is, first of all, thank you for all this information that you provide. It's very informative. So I'm new to this committee, and I'll be able to use that line for the rest of the year. I got about 1 year.
Only for the rest of the year, yeah.
Only for the rest of the year. I guess this year, right? This calendar year. But anyway, I'm new. So my first question is, have you presented, or can you present, or is it a value that you would present like over the last 5 years of data for comparison?
We certainly could, and that wouldn't normally be an issue. In fact, in many ways, we can show it can always continually of improvement because we get better and better at our skills, right?
Arguably, right?
We bring in other systems that work us to help us to improve when we implement them. Here's the kicker in that. COVID had a big play and changed the world upside down when it came to transportation. So the passengers prior to COVID, we call it pre-COVID and post-COVID, we have still not quite achieved the total number of ridership that we were at prior to COVID. So our 2019 riderships are still slightly below where we are now, about 150,000 less passengers than prior to COVID. So bear in mind too that all those conditions, and then we had a slow uptake when COVID started slowly releasing. Okay. And we didn't see the huge demand coming back, not as we had anticipated, until really 2023. And then the demand was so high, and yet every agency, every employer in the United States faced employee shortages, especially with the driver field. So our on-time performances and so forth, achieving that with the much higher demand. So I would show that, and we would look like 2025 is just stunning, but I don't know if that's really a fair comparative to 2025.
Arguably, I withdraw my question.
No, don't. That was a very good.
No, your question's good.
It was a valid
I don't know, it's a valid question. I think the committee wants to see something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's beneficial to us to all see something like that.
Yeah.
But when he brought that up, I was thinking the same thing. The pandemic didn't help because we were all locked up, or you allowed only certain people to ride, and how many rides was that per day, you know?
Well, and we had to ensure it was only one passenger at a time at that point too.
Yeah.
And then it went to, and then we were doing grocery runs. It just, the services that we could provide to the community so that they were able to sustain themselves living at home.
Darrell.
The one thing I'm concerned about, you talked about no-shows and how no-shows repeatedly hit the system and cause the system to slow down and performance on time, performance, things like that. I know what the no-show policy is. I know what the time says. It says 5 minutes. But does all drivers and dispatchers know what 5 minutes look like? Because I've been on that bus multiple times, And a no-show can vary between anywhere from 3 minutes to 10 minutes. And so when does the real no-show policy come in, where it's a 5-minute window and we drive away? Because it's not really happening in terms of, in 5 minutes, we're gone.
I know. But Darrell, bear in mind, this is a people business. And we know that we dropped Darrell off at the Met Council building today. We know he needs a ride home. We know he's coming out. So your driver might give you just like a couple extra minutes just to make sure. Now, that doesn't go public, okay? Because theoretically, it is only 5 minutes they're supposed to wait. But we have individuals such as some of the people on the committee here who are very good riders, and I'm using you as an example of a good rider, who when we drop them off, we know they're gonna want that ride back. It's not somebody that goes and just gets another ride. You know your people, right? Your drivers know you.
Okay.
So can I add that, maybe a little bit of human error to the fact that it is a people business? Now, if we, on the other scale of this, if we do not wait the full 5 minutes, that no-show is excused from that passenger. That is not held against the passenger, that we didn't wait that full time.
I appreciate the fact that we're a people business.
We are.
But we can't lose money either. And we can't repeatedly wait for, I know you guys repeatedly wait for certain customers. I watch you do
No,
it.
I wouldn't say that.
Well-
And forgive me if I gave that impression. I used you as an example to give that
I'm not on
impression.
me particularly. I mean, they waited for me particularly. So, I mean, I guess I can't fault them for it, but I also had a child and I have like 10 other bags that I gotta connect with, things like that. Can't lock the door sometimes. So those things happen. But I know there are a list of individuals, whether they're ambulatory or not. I know we wait for them. We've gone to day programs where we particularly wait. I know that day programs are a little different ballgame, a little different ballgame when it comes to their pickups and their drop-offs. But when do we start to, we talk about being in a people business, when do we say, okay, we've been here about 6 minutes, we know they're not coming, because every third day that we get here, they're not coming to the door. I mean, we know, like you said, we know our customers, right? The drivers know the customers. So like for instance, in my case, I'm in a new house, and when the ramp comes down, it won't deploy correctly because on the new lifts, the trip gate is a lot different. It's new, it's on both sides. It doesn't allow them to trip the foot peg as easy as on the old buses. So if they even hear any commotion between me and my family, saying, hey, just tell them to put more weight on there, they'll say, oh, if I can't get this down in the next 2 times, or you're just gonna have to have a no-show today, you're not gonna go anywhere. And we're saying, ma'am, if you have a problem, you can pull the bus 10 feet that way, and we'll come that way on that flat driveway, and we'll be right there. And they'll be like, oh, no, you can't do that. And then I'll rush out, run around, put myself right there, and they'll be like, oh, that's an easy spot. I'm like, well, that's what I just said to you. But it's that give and take that causes that 10 minutes of delay time just to get me on the bus.
The greatest burden that no-shows put on the system is the fact that we cannot leave somebody stranded. If we
Right.
transported you there, we have to
gotta
get you.
pick you back up.
The greatest strain is trying to develop the return trips for those that do no-show. So forgive me if a driver waits 1 extra minute and that person gets on the bus, he probably just saved us 20 to 30 minutes out in the field, if not more. I'm not trying to justify it.
No,
You're right. It should only be
makes
5
sense.
minutes,
It makes
but
sense. I mean, if you know you're gonna end up picking that person back up anyway, you might as well just deal with it.
well, we have a lot of new drivers. We have a lot of new passengers. That's a constant day in, day out change. So whether they know them or not, I just used you as an example.
Right.
Whether they know you or not, like I said, it's not just the no-show itself and the time wasted waiting for somebody. It's having to book
return
another
item.
same-day ride on a system that is so strongly booked that a hiccup will start to affect your on-time
Yep,
performance.
you're absolutely right about that. We see that a lot with the Cedar drop-off location by the Capitol, and a lot of times drivers will refuse to walk up to the door to get their passenger. So that's a very big problem.
So we highly encourage you to wait by the first door when you're scheduled today,
But
Darrell.
if they don't come,
I'm just-
wait. But
I'm
actually,
teasing.
where they dropped me off, they didn't even know where to drop me off. They had to. We snaked through the back a couple streets over. But so hopefully they know to come into the building to get
Yeah.
me. 'Cause-
All right, any further questions on that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more slide. Heidi, then one more slide.
My last question to go with all these numbers, can you make sure that when you do training and the dispatcher makes it very clear too, when they come in and they don't just say, is someone here for it? Because they need to pick up the right person, they need to make sure they check their IDs. So your numbers match up, correctly, because I've literally sent them back going, I'm not sending this group of people that we were at a meeting at, if you don't even know our names, and know, and you're just saying, I'm here to pick up. But
Very good
that doesn't
point.
help, because I literally been at Gillette where there was 2 Heidis. That Heidi used sign language, I don't, but I'm hearing impaired, which is kind of interesting. But besides that, it was the idea that who was he picking up? He just, so we got to be creative so your numbers can, match up, more clearly and more better. So you get all the right people. You don't have a yelling dispatcher on the thing going, did you pick up the right person, which I've actually heard.
And another reason why we check IDs when you board the vehicle.
Yeah, even if it's a Minnesota ID, because I've had drivers that's like, don't you want to see my ID? Well, you said you were Heidi, I believe you. Well, I know people who are very vulnerable, they see a vehicle, they just know they're going home. They don't know it's not their vehicle, it's the
They want to
one
go
down
home,
there.
yeah.
Or the one over there, So we have to be really creative so these numbers can get better.
Improve, yeah. Great
you.
feedback, thank you.
Darrell.
I've been receiving several reports lately about reservationists being inpatient, being rude, being almost unempathetic when customers go to schedule their rides. If somebody calls in at 10 minutes to 5 and says, I'm at blah, 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 right away the person on the other end says, wait, slow down a minute. And because their phone is at 4%, they might be a little elevated to try to get that information out as quickly as they can, but right away, that information is not received well with the reservationist. So then that's a give and take a little bit, but it's, from what I can gather, I've looked at it over the last probably 3 weeks, and those calls are coming in repeatedly more and more. And it's not just my provider, it's all of the providers. When do we require additional training of our reservationists, and they understand that, yes, we're in the people business, that also means you don't get to be rude to people when they're trying to schedule their rides. You don't get to be dismissive. You don't get to tell them to stop, slow down, treat them like a child, because they're not children. They are scheduling their rides for a purpose, and just because they may be a little faster than you, doesn't mean you get to tell them to slow down, you get to tell them to stop, all those kind of things. And what I'm saying is, when do we get the opportunity to retrain some of those issues? Because it's clearly becoming an issue more and more, and now that the winter time is coming, you're gonna have more of that. So how does this sit, and when can I tell my feelers, my private feelers that are looking at this and watching this, when can I tell them that it's going to greatly improve?
So I'm a very strong advocate for complaints. That is our best way to handle that problem. Wait a second, Darrell, give me 1 second, okay?
Okay, I will.
Because what that allows us to do is pull that phone call and use that as a training tool with that individual reservationist. That gives that reservationist at the time that the complaint comes in, retraining on the spot by their manager who is now fully aware of what happened and what they need to do to improve, and their personnel file is updated. As far as individual disciplining, that's on the provider and not necessarily on us. It's due to the volume and or lack of response to the training that they receive that we may intercede, but it's really on to the individual employer to follow through with employee discipline.
Right, and given those answers, okay, I'm with you on that, I'm following you on that. I also know there's a couple reasons why individuals would not call in and do a formal complaint, because they were just so damn happy that they got their ride scheduled to begin with. They figure, well, maybe I'll complain later on if I got time, or I'm just glad I got the ride, okay? And then if we go further and you say, well, the discipline comes with the provider's the one that does the discipline. Well, the reason why the disciplines never happen and you guys never see what's really happening there is because if they show you any marks, then they're at risk of not getting their bonuses for not having complaints and all those kind of things. They know that, and there's companies out there that have not gotten any remarks because they continue to get their $5,000 bonus. Okay, now understand that I know what I'm talking about. That's why I put the $5,000 out there really clearly. And if that $5,000 bonus is in jeopardy at any moment, the disciplinary action is not going to happen unless it's egregious. Like I ran over somebody's foot or something. Clearly, you're gonna, the discipline issue might happen then if they swear back at me or threaten to beat me up in front of my disabled wife and my wild 13-year-old daughter. I mean, but when do we start to actually force the providers to actually take real action against complaints that are valid? Because they're not doing that at this point.
Yes,
we know that.
Yes, we are. It's part of their contract. It's reviewed during each month's billing. So yes, we are holding them accountable for that. And that's why calling it in is so vital, because if you don't call it in, then we're not aware of it. We can't bring it to the provider's attention. We can't bring it and use it as a training tool with the employee. Mm-hmm. So we lean on the public, we lean on our clients to ensure that we're informed and that we can research those. Mm-hmm. Every phone call made is recorded. And if you're a reservationist that takes a reservation, it's incredibly humbling to have your manager pull you from the group, review a phone call, show you how you need to improve, especially when that entire group knows exactly why that manager is pulling you. So I disagree that these complaints are not a follow-through and retraining and or effective in improving performance.
Why are the $5,000 bonuses going out without any caveat? Why are you not saying, hey, we'll give you your bonus this time, but next month you better watch it? Because none of that's happening. If there are complaints on the system, it should reflect by the dollars that you're giving them.
Could you repeat his question? I missed some of that.
Actually, I want to ask another question that's probably directly related to this. Do the bonuses go out more frequently than they do not go out? And if they go out pretty frequently, when was the last time that a bonus did not go out? Because
That
of
what did not go out?
A bonus did not go out, for meeting all the metrics. The disconnect
Quite
here is
often.
the disconnect
In
here.
fact, it's pretty difficult matrix for them to be able to achieve. They receive far more penalties than they receive in bonuses.
Okay.
And the penalties are across the entire board.
Okay, I have one question.
Heidi?
My question is, because I've noticed this, I have nothing against people from around the world, but it's becoming more of a thing, when you pick up the phone and you have to call, for like, to cancel something or to talk to somebody or to fix something. And do you do training on how to work with people with different kinds of disabilities so because sometimes I really can't read what's in front of me. I know I have to go to this address, or I can't pronounce it because of my speech impairment. So I have to spell it out. Are you doing training for people who have different types of ways of doing things, Because you're proud that they can do the ride and actually call you guys. So that's one step we managed and we accomplished. Now we just got to get the other end to be willing to work with us so we can get where we need to go and not the wrong place.
Yes, we do. It's part of the training. It's a requirement of the training, as well as having patience.
Mm-hmm.
And if need be, asking the caller to be patient with us as we try to understand as well.
Yeah, because I know it goes on both ends, because
It
some
does.
I have friends where.
Well, Claudia's had me on the phone a few times, so I've had to ask her questions in several different ways in order to understand the point that you were trying to make.
Yeah.
So that we take that time to do that we're treating our clients with
Part
respect.
of it,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's becoming more, when I take the taxi or take Metro Mobility, that is people from around the world that are in the job. And I'm glad, I'm happy. That doesn't bother me. I just need to be able to understand, to do what I need to do and get where I need to go.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to just ask. And that also goes with not just on the phones, but the drivers too.
Exactly. Yes, it is.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Questions online? Otherwise, I think we have one more slide. Yeah,
Next
finish
slide,
on up, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we done?
One more. Next slide, please. And we still have not had any ADA trip denials. And that's basically the end of it. The rest of it's open for questions. Next slide.
Are there any questions to finish us off? I know I just asked the same question, but since it's on the slide, I will ask it again.
One question.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Is there a shortage of drivers, or is there a problem getting drivers? Because you have your high standards here,
We do.
these high goals, right?
We do.
So is there an issue, or?
There is. We still have a slight driver shortage. So much better than 2023, an improvement over 2024. It does make any non-ADA trips during peak hours. So you may find that if you're trying to make a non-ADA trip during peak hours, that will be capped or a capacity issue because it's in a non-ADA area. However, we're not allowed to do any capacity denials in the ADA area. So we do prioritize ADA trips over non-ADA trips during peak time right now, Monday through Friday. We're not having those issues so much on weekends.
Okay.
I do have one more question.
Heidi, go ahead.
My question is, we just heard that there's going to be a lot of road construction and a lot of new things happening in the future. Are you guys kind of working around that to figure out how you can keep this at the float, so we can get to our appointments, Because, it seems like we're always stuck in road construction or redesigning. So how does that look so you can actually get those high percentage, Because now that changes, because they changed that road, that changed that number in that area completely sometimes.
It does, yes.
You know, so how are you working on that? And so you can keep getting funding and keep this alive and going, because there are people who truly do need it.
The driver-made application and software that we're putting in, hopefully will be in vehicles by the beginning of the year. That is supposed to be a huge improvement on GPS, providing real-time construction and road usage. Right now, the Rangers, they have updated maps. That has actually improved things since we updated the maps a couple of months ago. However, their GPS systems still aren't to the level that DriverMate is. DriverMate is currently in pilot mode right now, so we're very, very close to implementing this across the entire system.
Driver made too.
Because we just got a good overview of the way of the future, but then how does that?
Exactly, we need, yeah. And I know that you've been hearing about DriverMate for several months. We had hoped to have it implemented by fall. Technical issues getting it to communicate properly with the system. So we've overcome those, we've overcome those so far in the pilot. There's still a couple of more, but again, we hope to have that implemented before the first of the year.
Good to know.
What's it, the first of the year?
I'm sorry.
What was that, the first of the year?
It's called DriverMate. Right now, we have Rangers in the vehicles.
Okay. So
And they're
that's-
running off of the map of the software mapping, and that map isn't updated to real time as far as construction and congestion.
Yeah, mapping never does.
Good question.
Now we're thinking,
Any other members have questions? Last chance online. Thank you for the robust conversation, Julie, and thank you again for joining us.
yeah, thank you.
All right, we will move on to reports. Ken is absent today. Darrell, do you have anything for the Purple Line?
The Purple Line, we're in the middle of doing a re-engagement with the community. We have several events planned over the next 2 months, 3 months, in efforts to try to re-engage the community. We are, there will be a bigger announcement coming out probably in the first part of the year, and I believe we have a report coming from the Purple Line in January. So if I can work with them a little bit and give you a little preview, next month I will do my best, or I'll let them come and give us their full update in January.
Thank you, Darrell. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment? No? All right. Any members would like to make a comment? Member comment?
I would also just encourage any of you guys that are excited about any BRT projects out there, or any type of bus rapid transit, come on over, look at the engagement that they're working on with the East Metro and the Purple Line, which will be formally changed in a new name once we get the formal update in January. It will be called, I think I can tell you this, I believe it will be called the Silver Line.
Silver Line?
But it will still have,
I'm sorry.
it will still have the Purple Line issues around it, except for the fact that we won't be in dedicated lanes. We'll be in mixed traffic most of the way. But that they wanted to change the purple to silver because they thought purple had a negative connotation. So they think silver's a little faster, it's a little sleeker. So we're gonna get an update from the new Silver Line in January.
Thank you. Any other members have any comments?
No.
Yeah, public comment, yes.
There we go.
Equity office is here. Thank you, by the way, for being here.
How are you,
Equity
sir?
office.
Doing well. I just thought I'd introduce myself and our team. My name is Scotty Carter. I am the Civil Rights Manager for the I'm in the Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity, so OEO. You can expect us to be here with you all, here in support. My colleague Mark is here as well. The role of our unit is to lead the council in making sure that we're ADA compliant and also Title VI compliant in various matters. And so this is my 4th week here. And my colleague Mark, this is his 3rd day. So we're here in support. And we will be regularly here to be with you all. I want to just make that introduction.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for introducing yourself and for coming. We appreciate it.
I can't ask the question?
I mean, what? Technically, no, but we don't do everything as formal as we
I
have
have a
to.
really valid question. Why silver? Because it's a hard color.
I thought you were going to ask.
Oh,
Yeah, you're off the hook.
No, but I have a question. Why silver? Because that's a hard color to see in the dark and in the daytime. Why-
Come tell the team that on January when they present to us that silver is not. It's not a good color
Interesting that they pick a color that they have to
Right.
work with.
for folks that are colorblind, folks that have some issues. Silver's not.
That makes sense. I
Or at
guess
this point-
purple for, the Vikings. and
Well, that's what it
Twins.
was. The Fed. That's what it was. The former chair had federal connections, and so she was able to ask the Feds, and the Fed said, "Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do purple for that area." But I will tell you, it's not my choice. If I would have had my way, it would still be the purple line, even with the changes that are coming down the pike. But I believe that we can change it any color we want. And the problems are still going to exist, whether or not the people accept it or not. So I was not a big fan of silver. I understand why they think they're going to do it, because they think people are going to forget all about the problems of the purple line, because silver is a new color. It's a new line. It's a new color, but it's really not. It goes in the same spot. It's just not. What it is it takes away signal priority. So instead of the 50% signal priority, which you see on the A line or the C line currently today, we take that out. We put that in mixed use traffic, and it can go on either side. And ideally, and we also use the same BRT stations that it was designed for. So here's my take on it as an individual who rides the system, not as somebody who represents the project. I would say that taking it out of signal priority and making it look like a BRT project when it's really not. It's a smaller project. It's not really a BRT. It is a BRT because we use their stations, but just because it looks like a BRT and it operates like a BRT doesn't mean it really is. So what I'm saying is, to anybody that wanted to support transit on the East Metro side, it looks like we're gonna follow the BRT line, but we're just gonna use their stations because it's convenient. We're gonna put it in mixed-use traffic because we don't want to pay for dedicated lanes. It's a whole thing, a host of things that I'm not sure if I'm even able to really get into from a representative standpoint of the Purple Line project, based on my tech involvement and based on the fact that I was very active in the Gold Line, and I was the co-chair of the Community and Business Advisory Committee. So I hope I'm answering your question, Heidi, and I hope I'm not pissing off too many people that might be listening to this, but I think it's a great project. I think we just gotta understand that colors colors mean something to a lot of different people. I would prefer the purple, but silver, I mean, it might be a nice touch. I might have to change all my clothing, but
Maybe it's fair if nobody's happy. How about that? With that, we will adjourn 14 minutes early. Thank you all.
nice.